What's up, peeps? Sean Green, SoccerCoachTV. Just listen to it. Beautiful reggae jam. And I've got a great guest today, Kahseim Outlaw. This guy's going to enlighten you. You're going to be so enlightened, you're going to be floating on air this whole interview. Kahseim, welcome to SoccerCoachTV, my brother.
Thank you for having me, Sean. Blessings, blessings to all the viewers out there as well.
Well, I'm here in my paradise island. I thought I'd get away from Connecticut for a couple of days. The weather's beautiful.
Yeah.
A couple of strawberry daiquiris after this interview, my friend. Kassim, for the audience who are watching this, Kassim was a former player of mine when I was the head coach in Connecticut. Absolutely incredible athlete. This guy was the best athlete on our team. Look at him now. Look at me. And this just doesn't happen, does it, Kassim? You know, the people are watching. These kind of don't happen.
You got to put a little work in, Sean.
Yeah, that's it. And then great soccer player, defender. The guy had speed. He had everything. I saw him grow athletically over those 4-year period. To be honest, the first year he was a player who we thought had a lot of potential, little raw, raw on tools, but became a fantastic asset for our team. And a well-known fact, I think he used to be an underwear model. Is that right?
Underwear, I put a shirt on every now and then.
Yeah, well, a shirt. I seem to remember something you were modeling.
Yeah, I had a little stint at John Casablanca's when I was a freshman, I think.
Yeah, I'm just starting my modeling career, Kassim.
Oh, perfect timing, Sean.
You know, I think the beard is, it might just be the thing that sets me over the top, man. You know what I'm saying? Well, for the audience out there, let me tell you why Kassim's here. Since graduating, I've been following him on social media. He's starting to get a big following. And he's a guy who is really enlightened. He's there to help people. Kassim is devoted to the promotion of health, happiness, and longevity, not just for him and his family, but for everybody. And that means you. And you can learn from him. Kassim is a wellness educator. He's a coach. He has his Bachelor of Science degree in physical education. He has a master's degree in integrated health and healing. He is a certified yoga teacher, correct?
Yes, I am.
He is a fitness teacher, author, and keynote speaker. And let me just give it to you, Kassim. 2020 Teacher of the Year.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, at my high school.
Congratulations. I'm sure there wasn't a big awards banquet and all that kind of stuff. You missed out on that, I bet, eh?
Yeah, nothing yet. So we're waiting to see what happens.
Well, listen, congratulations. I mean, when you
thank you so much, Sean.
In any profession, you know, when you're recognized by your peers, it means a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, people are watching.
So, Kassim, tell me a little bit about the promotion of health and happiness, longevity. When did you start to pursue that? I mean, when did you feel that there was a transformation in your life that you needed something else other than just trying to get through with your regular day thoughts?
Beautiful place to start, Sean. I've been a professional educator in public high school for the last 14 years. So I call myself a wellness educator, which can loosely translate to a physical educator, which loosely even more translates to a gym teacher. So I've been in high school. I've been dealing with young adults for a long time. And I've noticed over that period of time that the attention to their bodies and their minds, how to use them properly, how to optimize their performance, both mentally and physically, just wasn't there. That attention, that focus wasn't there. So back in about, I want to say it was about 2012, I just started searching online for some different mindfulness activities, some meditations for my students. And this was about the time when I think the iPhone 2 or 3 was coming out. So we went from being people who were like this all the time to being people who are like this constantly. So I noticed that in my student body. It was hard to get their attention, hard to get their focus. So I started doing some searches for, anything that would help. And I found it in the form of a guru named Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, who's the founder of the Isha Foundation. He's a humanitarian, a mystic, and a yogi. And immediately what he was saying and what he was promoting just touched my heart, touched my soul in a way that had me look even deeper. So from about 2012, 2013 onward, I've been diving deeply into yoga, into mindfulness, into these different mind-body practices that have shown me amazing transformation. You can ask anyone that knows me. You know, I went from being the barbarian that used to see running around campus to being somebody who's much more conscious of how his actions and his words have a ripple effect in my immediate surroundings. So fast forward a little bit, I've done a bunch of different programs and different professional developments that have given me the tools and the resources to help share that, not only with my students, the students that I serve in public education, but with my family, with my friends, and with everyone that's kind of, blessings to all of those that are following me on social media, and that the message is resonating with. So, and here we are in 2020, and what better time to think about some of these things than right now, where people are kind of caught in the whirlwind of what's happening globally and not knowing what to do. But this is a tremendous opportunity to look within and tap into some of those tools and those practices that.
Well, in a little bit, we're going to get into what tools you can share with our audience, especially during this pandemic. But I did want to ask you, I found it very interesting about the Isha Institute of Inner Science that you attended at the Baba Spandana program, which is a meditation program, advanced meditation. Tell me a little bit about that.
So the Isha Foundation is a global organization. It's volunteer run. It's not profit, not for profit, and they do humanitarian work all around the world. Everything from saving rivers and forests to bringing meditation practices to people who would be in underserved communities would never get this, and also in rural education and also education at large. So to give you a little bit of an idea of how that works, they have an ashram in Tennessee. It's called the Isha Institute of Inner Sciences. And their flagship program is called Inner Engineering, which, just to give you a little bit of idea what that is, it's a simple 21-minute practice that you learn, along with a lot of different preparatory practices that lead up to that. But it allows you to take a look inward and to take responsibility for your inner environment. We've spent so much time curating our external environment. We try to put things in their proper place and set up our homes and our workplaces to fit us. But how much attention do we spend looking at the inside, the interiority? So the Inner Engineering program is something that gave me that. That was a 4-day program that happened in Atlanta, Georgia back in 2014. Fast forward to 2017, I took a trip down to Tennessee to the ashram, and I spent 4 days there for what's called the Baba Spandana program, which basically means inner resonance, so sensation resonance. And what I did was I spent 4 days with about 1,000 people in an ashram doing different practices, breathing exercises, contemplative, contemplative practices in the forms of meditations and different kriyas, which are, for those yogis out there know that kriya means action. So different meditative actions that you do to bring forth this awareness. That was really transformative for me because think about it. You're spending 4 days with no cell phone, no contact to the outside world in a loving environment filled with strangers, people that you've never met before, maybe you'll never see again, but you're committed to them in a loving way. You're holding space for them. You're sharing things with them that you've never shared with anybody else, knowing that it goes nowhere after that. But just the process of letting out some of the things that I was holding in and letting some of the things out that others were holding in a safe space, that's just a beautiful, beautiful experience.
And that my experience in my life, sometimes it's easier too to talk to people who share stuff with people that you're not immediately, involved with, just to get it off your chest. Sometimes you need somebody to speak to, and that. Let me talk a little bit about meditation, okay? Because it's something I've always wanted to do, and I don't think I have my own definition of meditation where I sit down and I try to be creative my thinking. When I try to come up with new ideas, whether it's coaching or productions, anything like this, I consciously sit down and I think, I'm going to think of a new idea. I spend that time, that half hour, that 20 minutes is devoted to just thinking out the box. It's not for inner peace, it's more on the creative side of it. So what are some of the tips for somebody who's never meditated like me, and they're at home and they've got time on their hands now? What would be a simple, 1, 2, 3 step for meditation?
Okay, so first I would talk about the definition of meditation. We've come to notice or know it in the Western world as something that you do, but meditation is actually something that you become. So there's different practices that you can do that are meditative in nature. You can go out in the garden and spend some time, just get your hands in the soil and you're weeding and you're pruning and you're planting. That could be meditative. For some people, it's going for a run or a bike ride or just sitting outside. It's basically a way to find stillness. So if I were starting a meditative practice or a contemplative practice right now, you know, for a lot of people, like you said, it's very difficult to do. Even spending 30 seconds in silence can be horrifying for some people.
So you don't have to be, when I think of meditation, I think of, you know, you're sitting there with your legs crossed and you close your eyes. So you don't have, you can be active.
Yes.
If I can relate it to what I do, probably the closest thing I get to meditation, Kassim, is when I swim. So when I'm swimming, that's when I really turn in, you know, I'm thinking when I'm swimming about planning my day, about my life. And so I can kind of relate on that level.
Yeah, sometimes people get caught up in the doing. So like I said, you could go swimming, that's meditative for you on a certain level. The closer and closer you get to stillness, physical and mental stillness is where the sweet spot is. Because then you realize what we call as yoga, which is the connection to all things. And many people go throughout their entire life without really feeling that. You know, some people, when their first, you know, child is born, or their wedding day or graduation, what have you, scoring the winning goal in a championship match, that might be the closest thing to saying, you know what, this is me and I'm connected to something much larger. But when we experience yoga, it can be done in the stillness and sitting in our own home. It could be sitting on a mountaintop with the legs crossed like the bearded yogis you see, or it could be someone sitting in their car in a parking lot on a lunch break, just saying, you know what, I'm going to take this time to focus on my oneness. You know,
on Netflix, there's a documentary. I don't know the name of it, but I watched it a while back. It's about this Buddhist monk in India, I think he is. And he sat in this tree something like a month without eating, apparently without eating. The TV cameras were on him for like a month. And then after a month, he just got up and his legs were crossed. He didn't, you know, he didn't reposition his legs. He sat in this position for like a month. It's a fascinating documentary. Yeah. People think he's a fraud or whatever, but it seemed real, you know? And I guess he was getting his nourishment, Kassim, from the sunlight.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know anything about that or what? Some people believe that, you know, you can actually get your nourishment from the sun, right?
Well, there's a lot of research that leads to that. I mean, if you look at quantum physics, it'll tell you that everything is a vibration, everything is a frequency. So even everything we see as physical matter, our bodies, you know, even our minds and the things around us, those are just frequencies that are vibrating at a certain, you know, vibration. So sunlight, in effect, these UV rays that are coming from the sun are carrying a frequency, carrying a vibration. And in that are things like vitamin D. You know, we call that vitamin D. So the sunlight activates something in us that allows our bodies to create this hormone called vitamin D that brings us more happiness, brings us more stability. Now, once we raise that level of vitamin D, now different hormones can be activated like serotonin, oxytocin.
How important is the immune system?
Oh, it's hugely important. But it's no more important than any other system of the body. So when we talk about yoga, everything being related, right now with COVID-19 and everything that's happening, people are like the immune system, and rightly so. We should have been paying attention to this for a very long time. And some of us, you know, have been doing that, and therefore this instance or this kind of time in society isn't affecting us as much. You know, we're asymptomatic because, you know, perhaps we were exposed to something and we don't even notice it because our immune system is that army that's being prepared constantly for the invader.
And, you know, the human body, right? I mean, it's just an absolute miracle, really, when you think about it. The human body, things we can do. And, you know, so the average lifespan, so you live to 70, say, right? Now, if you're buying a car, Kassim, and, you know, it was guaranteed to last you 70 years, or a washing machine, or a 70-inch flat screen TV, it was guaranteed. You would buy it in a second.
Absolutely.
You know, your body has an unbelievable way of sending out messages to you and telling you things, and has its own alarm system, right?
Yes. And we need to cultivate an awareness, because sometimes this alarm system's going off, but we're so distracted by the outside noise that we can't hear it. You know, when we look at things like cancer and these different autoimmune diseases that pop up midlife and later in life, that alarm might have been going off since you were 19 years old, but you haven't heard it. So it's very, you know, you're absolutely right. The body is extremely intelligent. It's the greatest piece of machinery on the planet.
Do you study Reiki?
I don't. I have some friends that dabble in Reiki. I'm not as confident in my ability to kind of tap into other people's energies at this point. So I kind of let that be. My main goal is to kind of inspire people to look into their passions and try to.
My girlfriend is a certified Reiki instructor.
Yeah,
she's tried it on me before, and only one time where it was all like psychedelic. I mean, you really can feel an aurora. Is it aurora? What do you call it?
Aura.
And you could actually feel it. You know, it's almost like magnetic.
I've had it.
But she's really into it. She's big time into it.
I've had it done once, and some of the revelations that came to the Reiki master that was, practicing on me were like mind blowing. I was like, how did you know that? So it takes an intuitive person and a sensitive person to do that work, but blessing.
There's a great guy I've followed for quite a while on Facebook and social media, a guy called Jay Shetty. Have you ever heard of Jay Shetty?
Yes.
Jay Shetty, when he was younger, he spent 4 summers in India and lived with a Buddhist monk.
Yeah.
And he was just into the pub scene, the nightclub scene, and all that kind of stuff. And he just got tired of it. He wanted something different. He thought there was more to life than just repeatedly doing the same things. And he studied with Buddhist monks. Fantastic insights that he provides for many people. If the audience there type in Jay Shetty, and he's some great stuff. Fabulous. So let me ask you, one of the best bits of advice I got from a dear friend of mine was to, when you wake up in the morning, was to reflect on the previous day of the 3 things that you're grateful for. What were the 3 things that you were grateful for yesterday? What a great way to start the morning, right?
Yeah.
What's the 3 things you were grateful for yesterday?
1, my life. 2, my family. And 3, the opportunity to share. Every day that we have together from this point on, we have the technology, we have the ability. We can share our enthusiasm, our inspiration, our sensibility with the world.
You, at some point in your life, went through this transformation, all right? And what is the difference between just changing your habits and transforming? What is the difference?
So change and transformation are 2 fundamentally different things. We can change the channel on the television. We can change it from one news station to the next, but guess what? It's still the news. So essentially, when you make a change, you're taking baby steps towards transformation. But what would do many of us on this planet a tremendous benefit would be to develop the courage and the sense of safety and support to be able to, so to speak, rip that Band-Aid off and just go for what we know to be true. Deep down, all of us know the truth. So transformation is where it's at. When a butterfly goes into a cocoon, it just doesn't go into the cocoon to come out another caterpillar with a different color coat on. It goes in to sprout wings so it can experience a different dimension of life. So that's what we need to do as human beings. All of the boundaries for nature, animal life, they've been set. A dog's going to be a dog for the rest of its life. A frog's going to be a frog. We can predict what's going to happen. But as a human being, we're the only animals on this planet that have been attributed that last piece, that being. So the boundaries are limitless. I remember the story you told us back in college, Sean, about was it Roger Bannister, the guy who broke the mile run, right?
4-minute mile was the first guy to break the 4-minute mile.
So prior to that, like you said, there was no one else that was doing it. But after he did it, guess what? Bang, 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 bang. Now this guy's running, who knows? I haven't even checked. But one of the things that really drives that home, and you can see in the background behind me, is this book right here called The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton, who, by the way, is going to be a presenter at the Graduate Institute, where I'm going to be running a cohort starting in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So,
congratulations.
In September, thank you. In September, we're going to have Dr. Bruce Lipton Zoom in. We'd love to have him there for a whole weekend in person, but he talks about the ability of the mind and what we believe to control our genetic makeup and what happens to us physiologically.
Wow. Hey, what's the point in believing in something if you don't act on it, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. A lot of people go to church on a Sunday, they praise the Lord, and then they leave and they go right to the pub and they do the things that they do. But when we truly believe something and we devote ourselves to it, we become divine. We become that we.
What's been key in my life is that I've always connected time with my belief.
Mm.
It's a synchronicity for me,
Mm-hmm.
because important decisions you make in your life are often based on time. You assume that you're going to live to 70, right?
Yeah.
So you plan, you plan. It's like playing a game of soccer. You assume it's going to last 90 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know it's going to last 90 minutes. But with life, we assume it's going to be 70 years, 80 years. And you know, through this pandemic, you know,
Mm.
I think we lost 85,000 people so far in the United States. But when you do that, it changes you because you put off a lot of important things, right? You stretch your goals out a little bit longer, and I think it takes you away from, you know, living in the moment. You know, I remember, I think you know about this, but in 2006, I had a heart attack and I died. And so people say you only live once, but I'm living twice. I actually flatlined and I died, and I had to put paddles on my chest to get my heart beating again. And after 4th attempts, they got me back.
Mm.
But for a long time after that, every time I went to the gas station, Kassim,
Yeah.
I refused to fill my car up more than halfway, because I never wanted to presume that I'm going to live long enough to use that full tank of gas. I wanted to live in the moment. It was just a constant metaphor for me, a reminder for me to live in the moment. You know, when I'd watch it, when it got halfway, stop. Don't think it's.
Yeah.
So, how hard is it for some people to live in the moment?
Oh, it's extremely hard for a lot of people. I just had this conversation today. And before I kind of explore that, I told myself a long time ago that I'm going to live till 131.
Get in,
So
son.
I looked at my life and the kind of the timeline that has happened. And if my son gets married when I did and has a child when I did, and then his progeny does the same thing, my goal is to be able to dance at my great grandchild's wedding day. So that puts me at 131.
That's unbelievable.
But to talk a little bit about, we'll see how strong my belief is in that, right?
Right.
But to talk about the anxiety, anxiety is kind of living in the future. And unfortunately, a lot of people have forgotten the fact that there only exists the now. Another book that I'll point to up there is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And there's only this moment right here. So when we tend to broadcast our thoughts or give up our responsibility for this moment and put it into the future, we often drag the memories of the past. So we take the trauma, the negative experiences, we broadcast that out into the future and say, well, I don't want to take that trip, or I don't want to fill up that tank of gas because I'm not sure. Something that happened in the past may happen again. But what we do when we do that is we relegate our power, because we can look in the past and find all these beautiful moments of gratitude and joy and all of this, and then put that into the future. And guess what? Now we've created not only a presence in this moment, but we've lined up more beautiful moments for us. So we want to try to stay out of that projection mode, be grateful for what we have right now, stay grounded. And that's where some of these practices, like the movement practices in yoga or the breathing practices or just being still, come in handy.
And you know what? It's pretty evident to me when I meet people who practice kind of down that path, because when they walk in a room, I've always been a big believer there's kind of two types of people on this planet. The people who bring light into a room, and there's people who bring darkness into a room.
Yeah.
And there's no really gray areas. You're either making a positive impact or bringing something to the party, or you're taking it away from a relationship, you know?
Yeah.
And we'll talk about relationships in a little bit, but I did want to ask you about why taking responsibility for your thoughts and emotions is critical.
So
why is that important?
Oh, we have to. I mean, if you think about the current state of society, we're constantly looking for a reason why something is happening to us. But when we boil it down, this is our life. This is our life experience. And if we go back to looking at that inner engineering program, this is what it is. I'm responsible for everything in my experience. The reason why I'm sitting here with you right now, I could say, yeah, it's because Sean, you called me up and you invited me, but I was the one who picked up the phone. I was the one who decided to be here today. So when I recognize that, I can then stand in that and say, you know what, I own this. So anything that happens because of this is my decision. I've got no one to blame, and I can attribute all of that success or whatever comes from it to me. while showing gratitude to every part of the piece, you know, every part of the puzzle. But yeah, responsibility is key. You stop blaming people, you become more joyful, you become more grounded. So it really starts there.
It seems like everything's connected, isn't it? The
It is.
mental, the physical, emotional, spiritual.
Yeah.
From the way you eat to the way you sleep to the way you breathe. I mean, it seems. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the way that you breathe is the way that you think, so to speak. So if I start, you know, I could do a practice right now where I start to breathe very rapidly, where, you know, and really ramp myself up. That's going to bring a lot of energy into the system. My mind's going to go into a fight or flight kind of stage. It's going to ramp me up. Now, if I'm not conscious of that, that could put me into panic. That could put me into anxiety. When you think about people who are in life or death situations, their breathing pattern changes, their mind is frantic. It's kind of aimed at survival mode. If we slow that breathing rate down, now we can tap into the rest and digest. We can relax the nervous system and then open people up to a greater experience, that they're safe, that they're supported, that they're loved. So that's just the way that the breathing connects. The way that you think usually is how you feel. If you're thinking about something negative, then your emotional response is going to follow suit. And once that happens, now your actions come into play. So the breath, the thoughts, the emotions, and then the actions. So people who do things, right, that are incongruent with our beliefs and our values in society as a whole, you know, you look at somebody who does something horrific and you say, oh, how could somebody do that? Well, we have to backtrack a little bit and say, what kind of environment was this person in? What were they thinking? What were they feeling that caused them to do that action? And once we understand that, now we can be responsible for our own kind of response to that. And we can also place the responsibility on that person for doing it, knowing it has nothing to do with us.
Some study done in Boston, I think, years ago, and it was about happiness. What is happiness? And that was the whole survey, and they studied all different kind of generations, and that's the definition of happiness until they found the secret of happiness that they found as you get older in life is to have a partner, to share your life with somebody that you love. And you don't need 20 people to love you. You don't need 1,000 people to love you. You don't need 3 people to love you. You just need one person in your life to truly love you who can change your life forever.
Yeah, for a lot of people, that's the case. You know, some of us get caught up in the, you know, especially with social media, you're looking for all this approval from the outside world to make yourself feel good. And then you can distill that down to even that one person in your life that shows you the love and compassion that you want, and that brings you to happiness. But I think the real sweet spot, the real, you know, message that I would want to get across here is that happiness starts within you. So once you can develop that all alone, like that monk sitting in a cave up in the Himalayas, if he's happy, then that means all of us have the ability to do it. So now when we're surrounded by this plethora of people around us, our friends, our family, our colleagues, our teammates, you know, we can say to ourselves, you know what, regardless of what's going on, I'm still happy. So happiness is fleeting. Joyfulness is something that's a little more stable. So if we can develop inner joy, I've got another book. I got my books back here, Sean. Inner Engineering, The Yogi's Guide to Joy. That teaches you how to foster joy on a consistent basis. So that way, whether you're happy, you're sad, you're disappointed, whatever may come your way, you're still grounded on that frequency of joy and gratefulness.
You know, and it's absolutely a great quality in a person, I feel, to be able to see the potential in other people, you know? Yeah. A lot of times, in my experience, that a lot of people don't see their own potential. And it takes somebody to come along and believe in them and give them that jump start and to give them that faith that, you know, they do have potential and they think they're doing, whether it's a career, whether it's education, whether it's relationships, they've got the potential. And how important is it to have a mentor?
It's extremely beneficial, extremely. You know, there are people, you know, it doesn't have to be a person either. Your mentor could be an experience. Your mentor could be.
I never thought of it like that. Yeah.
It could be anything. But to have a physical mentor in the form of a person is tremendously valuable. It could be a teacher, it could be a coach, it could be a parent, it could be a brother, sister. But having someone as kind of like that guiding star, where you look at that person and say, hey, you know what? They're very joyful. They're very happy. Whatever they're doing seems to work. I'm going to do what they're doing because that's how it works, Sean. If we want to make people reach their full potential, we have to then exhibit that and show that, whether we've got kids, whether we've got students, whatever it might be. So if we show them the way, we've got some disciples now. We've got people who love us and value our way of living and then choose to follow suit.
And just showing interest in people.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, everybody out there meets these people who, you know, you're always the one who's starting a conversation, asking about their life, how they're doing. But they never ask you. They never reciprocate. You know, they'll absorb it, but they don't bounce back at you.
Yeah.
And I think that's tough. Okay, Kassim.
Yeah.
Music. How important is music? For me, it's very important. Look, you know, I'm probably the biggest supporter behind you for Bob Marley, right?
Yeah.
And we did not coordinate this, by the way.
No, not at all.
We did not coordinate the Bob Marley. You know, I saw Bob Marley in concert. Did I ever tell you that?
No,
yeah.
Wow.
I was a really young coach. It was in early 80s, I think, and late 79 or 80, somewhere around about there.
Yeah.
I was the assistant coach at Brown University, men's soccer team under Cliff Stevenson.
Yeah.
And my office was in the locker room that I had was in the ice hockey rink, and Bob Marley was doing a concert there. Wow. So I went in the locker room, out the back door, and I was 20 yards from Bob Marley. Bob Marley in the eye trees, man. It was absolutely. In fact, not long ago, I got on YouTube and I have a audio file. It's just a picture of Bob Marley, but the whole concert that was recorded. It was great. I mean, from that day on, well, you know me. Back when you played for me, I used to have Bob Marley playing in the locker room all the time.
You're right.
You know?
You're right.
It's just a vibe, and that's why I love the Caribbean. To be honest, I mean, I'm in love with the Caribbean. I've been down to Bahamas. I've been to Jamaica. Several times down to Barbados down there. But I was saying this the other day. In America, you walk around the street. The only time you really hear music is when you put your headphones on, or maybe you go to a bar, or you're at home. Yeah. But in the Caribbean, you're submerged in music, the tempo, the beat. So if you're in a little pub having a drink, uses reggae on the beat. You get onto the beach, you hear the music. You get in the cab, you're hearing reggae. You're not hearing all different kinds of songs. They're not playing, you know, Backstreet Boys and stuff like that. It's just that rhythm, but that rhythm is a pulse. You feel it. Do you agree with that, or?
I absolutely agree with that. You know, it harkens back to our conversation about frequency, Sean. It's very hard to be in a rigid state, upset, angry, depressed, when you have that frequency of Bob Marley playing in the background. I did an experiment, and I do this every so often now, where I'll go an entire time where I'll abstain from all of the music except for Bob Marley and the Wailers. I'm talking about the old root stuff, you know, Cornerstone and all these different songs, and I'll play them, and I'll learn the lyrics, and I'll feel the vibe, and I'll notice the difference in my attitude and my demeanor when I am getting home from work or when I'm arriving at the office at school. And it's just so light. It's so light. And why? Because there's something in the music that.
Do you know, Nicole? Do you know that Bob Marley? Do you know that Bob Marley was a great soccer player? Do you know that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You see it, Sean.
Yeah. I've got. In fact, let me show you something. Hold on. My girlfriend just bought me this.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna be impressed. Hold on.
Here we go. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So let's finish off a little bit here, Kassim. And I've got a real interesting question for you.
Yeah.
I think everybody on this planet is somebody has contemplated. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's this guy called Sir Ken Robinson.
Okay? I love him.
He's a famous educator, you know, he's an English guy.
Yeah.
And he's probably got one of the most watched TED Talks on YouTube in the history of TED Talks.
Yes.
And there's a great part in his lecture and his presentation where he talks about this middle school or junior school kid. Okay, they're doing an art class. Actually, it might have been a little bit higher than kindergarten. We're doing art. And so the teacher walks up to the kid, and the teacher says, "What are you drawing?" And the little girl says, "I'm drawing God." Yeah. And then the teacher says, "Well, you know, nobody knows what God looks like." And the little kid says, "They will in a minute."
I love it. I love that.
You know, and it's true. It's, you know, she had this idea what God looks like, you know, and I think, you know, in the mainstream kind of the way people are brought up, God is this, and in all movies, he's a guy with a big white beard and he's sitting up in the clouds, and you know, that's how it's portrayed. And even Jesus, you know, did he actually look like that? Did he, you know?
Yeah.
But question I'm going to ask you there, right? There have been in recorded history between 8,000 to 12,000 gods.
Yeah.
Right? And if you think about some of the top 15 religions right now in the world, well, even in the past, you had the Greek god Zeus, right? Yeah. Who was the god of the sky, thunder, law, and justice. You had Athena, the goddess of intelligence, art, and wisdom. You had Hanuman, which was a revered monkey god by the Hindus, right?
Yeah.
Buddha.
Yeah.
You have Shiva, Hinduism. Hinduism. Allah is worshipped by millions and millions and millions of Muslims, and 22 billion followers of Jesus Christ and Christianity, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's wrong, unless there's hundreds of gods.
Yeah.
So my question to you is this: is there only really one God, or is there thousands of gods?
Well, the question. Well, let me put it this way. I'll answer your question with a question. Is it true that we all came from the same place? I would have to say yes.
I didn't know you were from Newcastle, son.
We all came from the same place. We are all built from the same ingredients, from this earth and this soil. And this is just one planet in our solar system, and this is one solar system in our galaxy, and this is one galaxy in an infinite number of galaxies in the cosmos. So what I think is that we're all right. We're all speaking about the same source, but we're using a different language. When you think about the fact that people are spread out in different factions around the entire world with different languages, with different cultures, different types of food, different types of music, all these different things, it's only natural that our expression of our higher power would be different as well. Now, there's no problem with that. The issue becomes when we start to level then, saying mine is better than yours. And this has been the problem throughout recorded history of humanity, trying to one-up each other with our religion, which then turns to our politics, which then turns to our economy, which then turns to our military. And then now we've gotten so twisted that a person on an individual basis can't be with another if they subscribe to the ideology of another. And that's a shame, because, you know, we're all in this together. That's a message that you're hearing now. And this current state of happening, this current situation that we're finding ourselves in globally, is a real blessing, because it's leveled the playing field. And now for some of us who are sitting at home and stuck behind a TV and still holding closely to our identifications, we may not get that blessing. But if we really sit in stillness and focus on our inner well-being and our transformation, then we have an opportunity here to say, you know what, regardless of what we believe, we're still bonded by this common challenge. You know, I always used to say to my friends, if aliens came to the earth and threatened humanity, we'd forget about all the God stuff. We'd forget about all the political stuff in a second. We'd be bonded together. And that's kind of what this virus has done. This virus has implanted itself in our societies and said, you know what? It doesn't matter if you're a Hindu, if you're a Muslim, if whatever, you got to bond.
Hey, listen, this is getting pretty deep.
Yeah.
Let's just
I love it, Sean. I love it.
That's my green marker.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, you know, the thing about religion, it's always, it can be a sore spot. Some people just don't like talking about religion. Like politics, it always amazes me. People will tell you all kinds of crap about their life, right?
Yeah.
They'll dump their worst, you know, things on you.
Yeah.
Hey, you bring up politics or Trump or the Democrats. Ooh, nobody wants to reveal what their political preferences are and anything like. It's just that area you get into. But religion is, if you sum it up, it's really. But you can say there's evidence, but it really is belief without evidence, isn't it? We haven't really physically seen Jesus or God.
No.
Right? You may have seen it, interpreted God in your own eyes, but there has not been a physical. It's like UFOs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe in, like you said, 200 billion planets in our galaxy and 200 billion galaxies. There's got to be one of those planets with life on it. If not, how special are we?
I know, right?
Right? If we're the only ones.
Yeah.
There are more planets out there than there are grains of sand on this beach.
Yes.
And that's the truth. They've done scientific numbers and random and all this kind of stuff. So spirituality is, you need that nourishment, don't you, as much as you need a great diet and a healthy body.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the spiritual aspect of things has gotten kind of pushed to the side because it gets lumped in with religion. And they're two fundamentally different things. Religion is a belief in conclusions that others have made and passed down traditionally. So none of us were born believing something. We had to then get that from our parents, who got it from their parents, and so on and so forth. And that's reinforced by society. And there's nothing wrong with that. There are people who are deeply religious that are doing wonderful things in the world and are kind and compassionate and in no way use their beliefs to level up on someone else. But on the other hand, there is a tendency to take that belief and ignore or dismiss the beliefs of others because you hold so tightly to that. When you're spiritual, you kind of accept it all as truth. And I've noticed this personally for myself, but I've also witnessed it. When I encounter someone who's spiritual, they're that person that walks into a room and lights it up. They're that person that feels like they're glowing with this orange aura of welcome and love. And they tend to be very, they speak the same language, so to speak. They're coining the same terms. They're speaking about the same experiences on an inward basis. So spirituality in my mind is the way to go. If it is, it doesn't have to be one or the other as well. You can be spiritual and have a religious belief. So it's the marriage of those two that I think is a beautiful thing. But we need more people to kind of be seekers of spirituality.
How do people handle anxiety? I'm sure a lot of people at home right now, we're starting to get into it, for a long time now. Any tips for them on anxiety? How's that happen?
So a lot of people would say gratitude, and they wouldn't be wrong. But the thing that you want to be extremely grateful for is this time right now, this moment right now. When you are grounded in this present moment, there's no room to, pontificate about the future. There's no room to ruminate about the past because you're holding so steadfast to this moment. So our breath is a great way to do that. And by focusing on the inhalation and the exhalation, right, and keeping our attention there and the sensations in the nose and in the trachea and all of that, then it doesn't give us room to focus on anything else. So that's where I always guide people. I tell them to start with the breath, focus on that, develop a love affair with your breathing practice, so that way you can be tapped into the present moment. And then by doing that in little bits and pieces, 30 seconds now, 30 seconds later, don't just do it when you're angry. Do it when you're feeling joyful and happy. And you'll develop this resilience that can be used in times of stress, just like this.
Through this, if you look at the positives, I've really enjoyed being able to spend more time with my family.
Absolutely.
Now, that's been the whole blessing out of this. Obviously, there's people around the world in different situations. They might be in tough relationships where they're stuck with those people for an extended time and they're having a hard time. Yeah. But, we talk about the blessings. It is a time where these people are often working hard, working from 9 to 7 o'clock at night. They're so busy all the time. Now these dads and mums, and they are getting time to spend quality time with their loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't want to, I know there's going to be listeners out there that are saying, oh, gratitude and spending time with family. You don't know my family. You don't know my mother-in-law. You don't know my kids.
True.
But
that is true.
And I don't want to negate the day-to-day stuff that you want to deal with, but it's about approaching those challenges joyfully and accepting the responsibility for that. When you think that things have just happened to you, you know, I've got this kid, I've got this marriage, I've got this mortgage, whatever it might be, you take yourself out of the process that it got you, you know, got you to that point. So by just reflecting on that and then moving forward sensibly, that's the key. That's the key.
Well, listen, Kassim, it's been very enlightening, very enlightening. I could sit here and talk with you for hours and hours and hours. So when all this is done, my friend, I'm taking you out to lunch, have a glass of wine, and let's talk about life. And, you know, I shared with you before this broadcast here that, you know, I've been in soccer a long time, as you know, and really the topics that really interest me are off the beaten track a little bit. And I'm sure that, you know, my audience are mostly soccer fans, soccer coaches, but before you're a soccer coach, you know, you got to have your life to live. You know, you can't be a great soccer coach if you're not a great person to yourself.
Exactly.
You got to look after yourself before you can look after the people around you.
Yeah. And to tie it all into soccer, just if I may, Sean, I mean, you think about, we're talking about joy and inner happiness and all this stuff. Imagine how great a team would be if every person on the team was playing with a smile on their face, which makes me think of the Brazilian national team.
Yeah.
You know, when they're playing, they're enjoying themselves, they're happy, they're still rough and tough and they're getting the job done, but they're doing it with a sense of joy. If we could all approach our lives with that same sense, I think we'd play a beautiful game.
Well, my friend, we're going to leave you with that, Kassim. I appreciate it very much. They're coming on to SoccerCoachTV. With that said, just want to thank my audience out there. If you've took the time to listen to me and Kassim riff a little bit, and if you've learned anything, fantastic.
Yeah.
Kassim, I'll be seeing you soon, my friend.
Sean, thank you.
Bless up. I hope you and your family are safe.
Blessings. Same to you.